All right. What's going on, Fit Over 40 Tribe? Coach Dave here, and super excited and fired up to bring you another episode of the Fit Over 40 Challenge Show. Yes, that's right, the number one health and fitness show for those of us in the club. My name is Coach Dave. I'm going to be your coach, your host today, and I'm really excited about today's topic. The reason why is because I know that it's something that I have to work on. I set a goal in 2020 to do this, and I'm positive that if you're honest with yourself, it's something that you struggle with as well. What am I talking about? I'm talking about that how to shut that negative voice in your head. Okay? Now, before we get started real quick, I just want to welcome you, those that are first-time listeners. Super excited that you're here. Hope you get true value from it. Those of you that have been listening now this is season 3. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys. One quick thing, if you can do me a favor. I have really sat down and reflected upon what it is I want to achieve with the time I have left here on earth. Quarantine, this whole COVID thing has really got me refocused, re-energized, and I realize that my strengths is impacting others. And I want to be a bigger impact to the world. So I have made it my mission now to reach over 40 million people across the globe to try to help impact their lives in some way, some form or fashion, so that they change and transform their lives, live the lives that they deserve and the lives that they want. How can you help? Leave a review if you find this information worthy and valuable. Just leave me a 5-star review. Send it over through the social medias, whether it be Instagram, Facebook. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to connect with you. But if you could do that, that would be great. Now, let's go ahead and move on, and let's dive in today to what we're talking about. What we're talking about is those voices. Yes, there's those voices that are in your head that tell you negative things, okay? I know I can't be the only one, right? Yes? Yeah, I know you're nodding your head yes, and you're saying, okay, I got you. Now, let's talk about this, okay? So, we want to look at this today and talk about and focus in on self-talk. Because here's the thing, it has such a big influence over not just your mood, but also on your health. Yeah, it does. And here's what it does. Self-talk is the words that you use to speak to yourself. Not only out loud, yes, I do that sometimes, but also in your head. Now, there's been some studies, and it's shown that people are naturally nicer to themselves in the words that they choose. So as a result, they have more optimistic outlook and even better health. And I know sometimes some people, think, oh, these positive affirmations, but it really does make a difference. And there's studies that have shown that it can include a 50% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease and a higher chance of a higher cancer survival rate is what I'm trying to say. The thing is, cardiovascular disease is well, first of all, for me personally, it's something that, my father died from a massive heart attack. And then cancer is so prevalent amongst Americans and even in other places across the world. Why wouldn't you want to just try to do something a little different that can make a big impact and help save your life and give you more quality of life? So here's the thing, and those that tend to harp on themselves or use negative tone in their inner dialogue, they actually tend to have a more negative attitude and outlook on life. And I know we all know people who just don't ever seem happy with themselves. And a lot of times it's what's inside their head, what they're telling themselves. Again, this is why we talk about staying away from looking at the news, even social media, because it has such an effect on us mentally and in our mindset and what we start telling ourselves, whether it be, oh my gosh, the world is going to end, or on social media, oh, look at so and so, they're doing so great and I'm not. So all this stuff kind of gets put into your head, and it creates that negative outlook, and then you just start to kind of snowball from there. So that dialogue, and what I want you to do, this is going to be a little homework assignment, is whenever you are listening to this show, I want you to make the next week basically a check-in, okay? I want you to check in, and I want you to monitor the way you speak to yourself. If you find yourself talking negative, write those words down. Write them down. What are those negative thoughts you're saying? And then go back and look at that and be like, wow, I can't believe I've been saying that. I've been saying that over and over and over, okay? And I've got some more tips for you, but I want you to do that over the next week. And if you notice that you have more negative thoughts than you want to, turn those words around. There's lots of little ways and tricks that you can change kind of a negative phrase or word into a more positive, optimistic phrase. So take a look at that and share with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and see maybe there's even a way I can help and assist you. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about why it matters, okay? A lot of us talk to ourselves in a way we would never speak to anyone else, even our worst enemies, right? If some people or friends of yours, families of yours, heard the things that go on in your head, what would they think of you? I mean, trust me, I don't want people to know sometimes what's going on in my head. And, I get in those patterns too. And I've always said this. Some of the stuff that I'm out here talking to you guys about is the stuff that I'm working on internally myself, okay? And especially right now with everything that's going on, it is very difficult to not get all the negative stuff going on in your head. I mean, we've got not only a pandemic, but we've got social unrest, and we've got an election coming up. So, oh my, things are getting crazy. But again, this self-talk matters. It's basically has that, the effect on your health, okay? And it matters because positive self-talk and having an optimistic attitude is linked with better health, as I talked to you earlier about that, and even a reduced sudden risk of death. Now, I'm talking about also improved immune function, less pain, better heart health, more energy, greater sense of fulfillment, and less stress. Now, would you say that sounds pretty good? Give me a yes, yes, right out loud. If you're standing next to somebody, they're going to be like, what? But does that sound good? Because it sounds good to me. I would love to have an improved immune function, especially dealing with COVID and everything that's going on. I'd love to have less pain as I get older, have more cricks and nagging injuries. I'd love to have better heart health. I come from a family whose father died from a massive heart attack. So I'm willing to go all in on positive self-talk. I don't care if it sounds hokey or people kind of like, oh, whatever, that stuff doesn't work. It does, and I do believe in it. And if you're, blocking yourself from doing it because you think it's silly, you're just, not giving yourself that opportunity to live a better health and more optimistic life. So let's change that negative self-talk, okay? Again, I get it. Sometimes you speak negatively to yourself and you don't even realize it. I mean, I get in those patterns as well. I'm like, and then when I find that out, I start to think, okay, how can I break this, okay? So let's talk about this here. There are 4 basic kinds of negative self-talk, and you might not even recognize some of them, okay? So the first one, I've written this down here. I'm going to read this out. Black and white thinking. Things are either good or bad, sweet or sour, happy or sad. There's no room for middle ground. This is really a rigid way to look at life. Okay, so sometimes we're looking at things black and white. Okay, and there's no room for middle ground there. The second one is personalizing the things around you. So what I mean by that is that basically this is blaming yourself for everything that happens. Okay, so if something um, goes wrong, you're immediately blaming yourself. Okay, I'm sure that you've done that before. The third thing is only focusing on the negative of situations. Okay, again, I don't, depending on when you're listening to this, this is one of the most craziest times I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Now, I'm not saying I've been through 9/11, which was pretty chaotic and crazy, but this is way above that, in my opinion. This is worldwide, but you know, we can get focused in on those negative situations that, I was furloughed. I lost my position as a coach. It was shut down. I mean, what am I, that was a pretty negative situation. But I decided to change the outlook. And what I did was I doubled down on the positive and the mindset side of it. So that was the third one, focusing on negative situations. The fourth one is everything feels like a catastrophe. This is when you expect the worst from everything or feel constantly under threat of attack. And what I will say and what I've seen is there's a lot of people right now that are struggling with the fact is that they don't think things are going to get better. They continuously see things and they're feeding their minds with all negative stuff, and they just start buying into that everything happens feels like a catastrophe. And so that right there is one that it can really be detrimental to you. Okay, so we've got to break it. We've got to realize that if that's what we're thinking, we've got to change our thought process. Now, none of these sound like very much fun. So we're going to do another assignment, or it's going to be kind of the same assignment really, is check in with yourself. And if you find that you're veering into the negative side of things, turn it around. Now, how do you turn it around? We're going to spend the next part talking about that here. Here are some tips to help you retrain your mind so that you can have and hear a more positive self-talk every day. So, you might notice certain things set off your negative self-talk. So watch for these patterns. And I will say this, that when I turn on the TV and I turn on the news, or if I get on social media and I start seeing posts from, people talking about politics or, the government or whatever it is, I start to kind of get into those negative self-talk patterns. I start to think, oh my gosh, this is going to be another catastrophe. But it's mental, and when you start to notice these patterns and situations that make you feel negative, you can anticipate them before they even come and be ready for them. Again, that's why stop consuming social media. If you're going to do it for 5 minutes. And 5 minutes might even be too much these days. Don't watch the news. There's other ways to get really the news that's happening. I was reading something that they were talking about this guy who, whoops, actually I hit the pause button there, so hopefully didn't mess up. But I was reading this article about this guy who set across to sail. I don't remember the distance, but he was by himself, and this was like he started like in January, and he got back somewhere probably like late June, early July, and the first thing he asked is like, so what's been going on? And when everybody told him, he was like, oh my gosh, but he had spent the entire lockdown quarantine period not even knowing. And I mean, he was fine, right? I mean, the thing is that you've got to know what triggers yourself with these things, okay? It can happen at work. Listen, there's sometimes a lot of times where you're going to be dealing with situations at work that can start triggering. You've got a boss, you've got clients, you've got coworkers. Those things can happen if you know it. And again, I remember I had a client, and she just was negative all the time, and it was like energy sucked from me, and I dreaded that session every morning. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, she was a committed, steady client, but man, it was so negative. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So I look back, and I wish I would have at that time been able to be like, hey, you know what? I don't, think that you and I are going to be a best fit for each other. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that you have to notice these situations and make the decision on whether or not you want to continue into these situations if they trigger that negative self-talk. Okay, and obviously, you go to work, you come home. There's lots of things that can trigger. We just recently had some issues with the foundation, and I started going, oh my gosh, now what's wrong with the house? And I found myself getting into that process of thinking, oh, this is going to happen. Another thing, again, I had to just step back away and start just getting into something else. The other thing is you may be around, or you maybe being around negative people makes you feel uncomfortable, and you find your mood is affected by them. You need to look for humor all around you. That's why they say you should laugh every day. Jimmy V would always talk about that. Is love every day and laugh every day. And if you just try to find the humor around you, most often you will. And if you need a positive boost, find something funny. This could be a video or TV show, comedy, or you could go and find humor, in almost any situation, right? And laugh. Laugh at yourself. I mean, that's for me. I can't tell a joke to save my life, but I can make fun of myself and laugh and have other people laughing, which makes me actually feel better. I don't know, that might sound crazy, but it does. Here's the tip that I think personally is everything in gold right here is find positive people to hang out with and find positive people to follow on social media. One of the reasons that I don't have an issue on my social media and Facebook, I get rid of the people that I do not want to be associated with. If they are, again, I keep hitting the pause button because my screen starts to go into save mode, and I hit the P because it's right there. Anyway, find people that are positive. Here's the thing. You're looking for a group, you can go, the URL is allabouthealthandfitness.com. Name of the group is Fit for Life, and like-minded people in there sharing positive stuff, contributing, helping others achieve goals and success. But get around a group that's positive. That is going to be weight in gold. And the other thing is I always do this. I look for positive quotes. I look for affirmations. I listen to podcasts. I listen to videos that basically kind of gets me that positive feeling. Even music can do that, So start the day with something positive. Start the day with this podcast. I really hope that you find this positive and you find value in it, but start the day with something positive. Now listen, your inner dialogue is basically like your life's internal soundtrack. You deserve to hear something amazing every day. So, if you don't love what you're listening to, change the channel. And that's what you can do And that doesn't take much effort at all. Okay. If you want to learn a little bit more about some of this self-talk, I will put there's a reference article and stuff like that I took some of this stuff from. Put that in the show notes for you. And if you want to join that a like-minded group, like I said, allabouthealthandfitness.com, you can go there. And if you need help with mindset and getting back on track with your fitness and your health goals, reach out to me. fitover40challenge.com/fitness coach. Love to just jump on a quick goal setting, fitness, weight loss, mapping session, whatever you want to call it. I'll get you set up. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And I hope you found some value in this. Again, if you did, leave me a review. I'd love to hear it. Connect with me on Instagram. Connect with me on Facebook in the Facebook group. And until then, until the next episode, go make it a great day. Make it a great week. This is Coach Dave signing off.